What is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'm reviewing the TYR CXT-1 Trainer. So 3 pros that I have with this model is number 1, it's a pretty well-rounded cross-training shoe. So a lot of folks have been wondering if the shoe will be good for lifting, CrossFit, versatile training, and across the board, this model has done a pretty good job in all of my tests. When it comes to lifting, you get a nice level of stability from the stability platform in this shoe and the Surge Energy Foam midsole. It's a bit more high density in nature. It feels almost like the Nano Tins midsole up in the forefoot. So if you did like that about that model, if you've ever worn it, you'll definitely like that feature in the CXT-1 Trainer. In the context of CrossFit, this model has also done a pretty good job. I do have a con for the training context with that shoe. I'll talk about that in my con section, but for the most part, I have thoroughly enjoyed this model's performance. The second pro that I have with the shoe is the 9mm heel toe drop. Now, the higher drop in this model, I think, is going to be one of the more polarizing construction features with the shoe. If you like a minimalist and lower drop, you're probably not going to resonate with this model. But as someone who's a little bit taller and has like longer legs, I enjoy higher drops for lower body movements. So squats, wall balls, thrusters, basically anything where I need a deep level of knee and hip flexion, I enjoy a higher drop because it helps my anatomy a little bit and my mechanics. So I do like the higher drop in this model, and I like that it's another shoe that works really good in a bunch of different settings that offers that feature, because a lot of models only offer 4mm drops or lower, and that might not resonate with everyone. So again, if you like higher drops, you're gonna like that feature about this shoe. The third pro that I have with this model is I like the level of boot security you get with this shoe. So if you need a cross-training shoe with a bit more boot security and arch support at that, this model should be a pretty good option to explore. You get a nice level of security back here with this beefed up heel cup, so you do get a nice lockdown feeling in this boot, and you get a little bit of arch support in the shoe. So if you are somebody who needs a bit of arch support, but you also like some ankle support and heel support in your cross-training shoes, this is a pretty dang good model to explore. But that being said, let's talk about a few cons I have with the CXT-1 Trainer. Cons that I have with the CXT-1 Trainer is number 1, if you like more minimalist training shoes, and if you like lower heel to toe drops, I mentioned this in my pros, but I don't think you're gonna like this model. This model's higher drop, I think, will be a turnoff for you. And if you like shoes that give you less midsole and less stack height when you're training, this model might also be a turnoff because the shoe is pretty thick and chunky, so I don't know if it's gonna be for everyone in that context. So definitely explore what you like and your preferences before investing in the shoe, just so you make sure that the shoe aligns with your needs and wants when you're training. The second con that I have with this model is a little bit of a durability concern with rope climbing. So I had a part of the midfoot on this model blow off on one of my rope climbing sessions, and now I'm curious if anyone else is going to experience this, but like, this isn't even like just some scuffing. This is like a clean chunk out of the wrap here on the lateral midfoot side with this outsole wrap. So I'm curious if other folks are going to experience that with this shoe, but it's definitely concerning, and I'm wondering if it's because this rubber is a little bit tougher and firm in nature and there's these ridges, because it looks like almost like right below the ridge, the rubber was ripped off. So I'm curious how this is going to fare for other folks. Hopefully this is a one-off case, but it's definitely a little bit concerning with the shoe, especially if you J-wrap when you rope climb. Definitely keep an eye on this, especially if you do heavily rely on your feet for rope climbing. But now let's talk about the performance of the CXT-1 Trainer. To discuss the performance of the TYR CXT-1 Trainer, I'm going to break this section into a few different parts. I'm going to talk about lifting in CrossFit, versatile training, shorter runs, and then daily wear. In the context of lifting, I have thoroughly enjoyed this shoe, and I think that's because of the higher drop mixed with the stability. So for squats, I have really liked this model and the overall ground feel you get with the shoe. And for like lunges and other unilateral movements, I have also really liked this model. I think in the context of lifting, especially recreational lifting on machines, and doing more barbell, dumbbell, and kettlebell work in the context of strength training, I think this shoe will work really well for most folks. And again, if you like that higher drop, and if you find that higher drop shoes often feed well into your mechanics, I think you're gonna really like this model. Now, I'm not a big fan of the higher drop for things like deadlifts, obviously, because that will shift mechanics a little bit. It will be stable enough for heavy deadlifts, like testing over 500 pounds. The shoe stability was fine, but something to think about is that if you are going to be doing some heavy pulling, this might not be the best shoe for doing like super specific 1RM testing, but it will get the job done if you're just doing like deadlifts at a watt and you're not going crazy heavy to where you need to be super specific with your mechanics, especially with your setup mechanics. When it comes to CrossFit, I've really liked this model. However, the rope climbing durability concern is an issue. So I like this model for its overall ground feel and for its stability, and you get a nice level of maneuverability with this toe box once it breaks in. And honestly, as a whole, it does feel pretty durable around the toe box with the toe bumper, But I am not going to say like this shoe is going to be super durable for everybody, especially after this rip. So that is something to keep in mind with this shoe. For the most part, it has done really well for all of my CrossFit workouts. But again, this rope climbing issue that I had is definitely something to keep in mind before investing in this shoe. I'm optimistic that most folks won't have this issue, and TYR did send this model out for testing, and I also then bought a pair too. So when that pair arrives in November, I plan on taking them through similar tests, so I will update this review in the comments below to let you guys know if I have this issue again in my second pair. But definitely want to put this out there that this model's rope climbing performance may be a little bit problematic for J-Wrap climbers who rely heavily on their feet. For versatile training, I have liked this model, and that's for two key reasons. Once this shoe broke in, it gets a little bit more maneuverable, but the first reason as to why I like this model for versatile training is with the upper construction up here in the toe box, so we have a breathable mesh, it breathes pretty well, but we also have a nice beefy toe guard and a toe bumper here. So for multi-directional movements and doing any form of plyometrics, you feel pretty locked down in this model, which I'm a big fan of. And the second reason why I like this model for versatile training is the overall arch support and boot security. As someone who does like a little bit of arch support and boot security in their shoes, I like this feature about this model. It feels a bit more natural for my foot anatomy, so I thoroughly enjoyed them for more of my versatile training sessions where I'm doing a lot more plyometrics blended with lifting. When it comes to shorter runs, this model will work for sprints, and if you have runs programmed in your WODs, they'll also work for like 1, 2, maybe 3 miles if you plan to tack on a few miles pre or post workout. I wouldn't run longer in this shoe just because its overall firmness, I don't think that will be super comfortable for most folks who do want to do a lot of distances, but for shorter runs, this model will work. When it comes to daily wear, this is not necessarily a shoe that I would recommend using for daily wear. I would say probably pass on them for that and keep them just for training. You'll get more out of them. Plus, if you went with one of the lighter colorways, I would say be a little bit concerned of the overall cleanliness of that upper construction and the midsole here, because again, I also have some dirt and mud here on the midsole for my outdoor session. So something to keep in mind that if you want to wear the shoe for daily wear, you definitely can. It will work. But if you want them to last a while, I would say probably just save them for your training sessions. You'll get more out of the shoes doing that. When it comes to the price of the TYR CXT-1 Trainer, you can expect to pay $130 for some colorways and then $139.99 for other colorways. Compared to other CrossFit shoes and other cross-training shoes on the market that run a little bit more on the premium side, this price point is aligned with those. And honestly, for the shoe's performance, I do like that price point, but again, I've said it many a times in this video, with the durability concern, that is something that I would say is a knock against this model's price, but hopefully this is a one-off issue, but $130 to $139.99 is what you can expect to pay for the CXT-1 trainers. So now let's answer the question, who should invest and look into the TYR CXT-1 Trainer? So if you are somebody who wants a training shoe for lifting, CrossFit, and versatile training, and you like a higher drop in your shoes, I think this model is a pretty good option to explore. Now again, I am super bummed about the rope climbing durability issue. Hopefully once again, this is a one-off case and this isn't gonna be like an every single shoe issue, but I do like the performance of this model. I like what TYR did with this shoe. The tongue security is good, the upper breathes pretty well. It feels pretty durable for the most part in regard to the upper, and I like the overall stability of this shoe. So it is a pretty good, well-rounded cross-training shoe. Just keep an eye out for its overall durability for rope climbing. Once again, I cannot reiterate that enough with the shoe, but I definitely feel like this model could be worth exploring, especially if you fit into the anatomical needs and the construction features that the TYR CXT-1 Trainer comes with. So when it comes to the sizing and fit in the TYR CXT-1 Trainer, I think most lifters and athletes should be safe going true to size in this model. The length runs true, and the width is what I would describe as neutral or normal. In the Q&A on the product page, someone asked if this model has a wide toe box like the lifter. It does not. TYR also mentioned that in their Q&A. It has a pretty standard toe box. It gives you enough width to display the toes, especially if you have a narrow or neutral width foot. If you have a wide foot, you may want to go up a half size in this model, but I think most lifters and athletes should be safe going true to size in the TYR CXT-1 Trainer. All right, so now when it comes to the weight, heel to toe drop, and insole in the CXT-1 Trainer, for my size 10 model here, we have a weight of 12.65 ounces. The heel to toe drop in the shoe is once again 9 millimeters, and this model does have a thin foam removable insole. All right, so now let's cover the construction of the TYR CXT-1 Trainer. Up here on the toe box, we have an extended outsole layer that wraps up. It is pretty wide and biased towards the medial side of the shoe. I like that for durability. I could see this toe box lasting a while, especially for toe dragging movements like burpees. Looking at the toe box construction, we have a breathable mesh upper, and then we also have a nice beefy, rigid toe guard here around the toe box. I like this for overall security. You feel super locked down with the shoe's toe box. And then making our way to the midfoot and the heel back here, we have some mesh overlays, and the boot itself has a nice level of structure. So you get a nice stable cup with the shoe, which is why I also like it for ankle support needs. Looking at the midfoot construction, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyelets that wrap up with the 6 back here for lace lock. We have a mesh tongue that has a little bit of padding, and then we also have 2 tongue loops here for additional security. The tongue in this model is gusseted, so I don't think you're gonna have any issues with the tongue rounding or tongue security with this model. Looking at the midsole, we have a Surge Energy Foam midsole throughout. It does have like a more medium to high density feel to it. And then we also have an extended outsole and rubber layer here that extends over the lateral midfoot into the heel, and then it wraps over to the medial midfoot. This is for additional rope climbing support. However, once again, on my other shoe here, I did have a little bit of breakdown here. So definitely keep an eye on this with your shoes if you did invest in this model. And then looking at the outsole here, we have a full rubber outsole with a varied tread. We do have a little bit of an arch in the midfoot of this shoe. As you can see a little bit of arch there. And then we also have a patent pending stability platform in this shoe. This model does have a thin foam removal insole, which we just talked about, but that's pretty much the gist of the shoe's construction. If you have additional questions on the TYR CXT-1 Trainer, drop a comment down below. Alright guys, that wraps up my review of the TYR CXT-1 Trainer. Overall, I have enjoyed this shoe's performance in most of my tests. I am a little bit concerned with this model's durability for long-term rope climbing performance, but for the most part, I have enjoyed the shoe. And I think there is a population of athletes that I think will really resonate with this model in regard to their anatomical wants and needs with their training shoes. If you have additional questions on this model, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always, guys, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.